Hi everybody. I'm just doing this. I mean, you're probably not going to be around. It doesn't matter particularly. I'm just testing this light again, testing the sound again. I think if I'm moving around, I don't know if it's going to affect the sound. Anyway, I thought I'd give it a couple of minutes, see if anyone pops up. I could just like kick back, put the hands behind, etc. Now you see, someone's watching. Now, are they going to stay? Is it anyone I know? Or is it someone who's going, "Stop, please get on with it"? This is just an impromptu thing because I really wanted to just get a feel of these live things. There's a few people in the VC who do live stuff quite regularly, and it's just very relaxed and easygoing. I'm probably going to do one on Saturday at 1 p.m. because that way I think most people around the world can tune in at that point. In America, it's about 4 hours behind, so they should be up in the morning, even though they might have had a heavy night the night before. Anyway, like I say, I don't know if anyone wants to say something, whoever that is watching, unless I'm just watching myself, and that one on the screen means me. I will probably have to re-look at this because I have to look at the camera. I'm always looking at the screen, so we'll see. I just pulled off some records randomly from the shelf over there, and I mean they are literally just out of the block. I don't have any particular order. I don't go with any kind of alphabetical or anything like that. I just Anyway, I think I'll just show a couple and give it a couple of minutes, and if no one says anything or does anything or pops up or anything, then I'll just move on and perhaps leave it till Saturday. Just wanted to test out a couple of angles here with light, and the problem is the light off my glasses, etc. We'll see. Yeah, it would be nice, whoever that is, to say something. This was shown by Ron at Hog's Ear Report, maybe about a year ago now. Ptarmigan, the name of a bird. This is actually, I mean, they really do oversell it on here. Hypnotic, mystical, hippie psychedelia, dominated by long and largely instrumental tracks, all based on a complex interplay of recorder, hand drums, and acoustic guitar. And they carry on, just wowing you with superlatives, but it doesn't particularly. It's not a great album. It's all right. It's not great. It's an interesting listen. It's definitely one if you get 5 to 10 minutes just to kind of check out the first couple of tracks, see what you think. It has a feel which is unique and a flow all of its own. And as I say, I mean, it does say recorder, hand drums, and acoustic guitar. You're not going to get blistering guitar solos or anything like that on here, but it does have a slightly psychedelic edge to it. An interesting record. It's a reissue, but it does come with a fantastic booklet. I think this is awkward at this light angle, giving you a fairly comprehensive history and facts. Nice thing, worth seeking out if you're interested in that kind of slightly hippie, dippy, but it's not acid folk. It would be called acid folk by a lot of people, but it's not particularly. But it's worth looking out for. Ptarmigan. If anyone's actually here and wants to say something, it'd be good, because I don't know who's watching or what's going on. This is just one of those spontaneous. Try in the afternoon when everyone's at work. Let's do that. Hello, Carlos. Fantastic to see you. Absolutely fantastic to see. Well, obviously I can't see you. Fantastic. Yeah, it's just a spontaneous thing, Carl. I'm just trying it out. Unfortunately, I can't use my my mobile. You need 1,000 subs, and my mobile has much better sound and visual quality. So I'm just going to try it on here for a little while. I did a live one the other day, and I thought, you know what? I quite enjoyed it, even though I actually lost a subscriber directly after that video. So someone watched it and probably thought, that's enough of this guy. Enough already. How are you, Carl? Anyway, are you well? It's I'm assuming you're well. You always seem to be well. You're probably the most relaxed man in the world. And I sometimes think, oh, if only I could be like that guy. Just so relaxed, and I'd love to be able to be calm like that. But I'm kind of all over the place. Yeah. Anyway, I just randomly pulled a few records. This is a collection. Most people will know it. Oh, good, fantastic. Yeah, this is just a spontaneous thing. I didn't have any plan. I just pulled some records off. Literally a block of records, and I just thought I'd just try this out. I'll see how we go. Yeah, here we go. This is psychedelic folk music, kind of a crossover, folk rock. But this is a fantastic, fantastic record. Now, I know that not everyone, I know you come up particularly into lyrics, but it does have some really good lyrics and very well written words. And again, this has a feel about it, which a lot of albums don't really seem to be able to maintain or even achieve. There's something quite unique. It's obviously of its time, but there's something unique about it. And I'd recommend if you're into psychedelic or acid folk, this is something to check out. There's some great harmonies on here. Not Beach Boys kind of harmonies, you know. Only the Beach Boys do the Beach Boys. Anyone else who sounds like that, you think, oh my goodness, stop trying to be the Beach Boys. You're not gonna get that. Some quality stuff on here, absolute quality. And I'm just rattling on because, yeah, no edits. Okay, there's that one. Now, this is an interesting record. It's released a couple of years ago by Joshua Abrams and Simultaneity, called Simultaneity, and it's Natural Information Society. This is a really very, very, very good record. It's kind of avant-garde. The repetition and the rhythms in this are absolutely sublime. I think you can actually see some of this being played live. This isn't a live record, although it does sound like it may have been recorded or improvised, some of it in the studio. Yeah, definitely something to seek out. I think what I've heard of his music is it's another world. He seems in a planet of his own at the moment. No one else can kind of sound quite like him. Let's have a look. He plays the, now I'm going to murder the translation or the pronunciation of it, the Gimbri or something, Guimbri, and it creates an incredibly good rasping, kind of like it's a stringed thing, it's a stringed instrument, but it's a rasping sound, and it's wonderful. And the way he plays this repetition and the bass, absolutely amazing. There's a great band around him playing harmonium. You've got some percussion, auto harp. There's even a little bit of Wurlitzer, tenor sax. There's also percussion, resonator bells. It gives you an idea of what, you know, there's a certain repetition, as in like Steve Reich, people like that in this record, but not, he doesn't follow the same sort of patterns. I recommend checking this out, I really do. I haven't heard his latest. I think I may have seen James Buttery show it, but yeah, a fascinating record. Only let down really by the last track, which unfortunately kind of falls into sort of slightly pedestrian mainstream jazz. The rest of the album though is absolutely brilliant. It's just a shame that kind of, it doesn't quite fit with the flow of the entire album. For me, some people might think, oh, it's a wonderful way to end it. It doesn't really work for me. But that's, you know, that's opinion. All right, let's have a look. This is a little bit, Zoo Animal on Wheels. That's brilliant. I don't know who you are. I've never met you before. I don't think I've seen a video by you, but thanks for dropping by. I don't know if you're in America or UK or Germany, who knows. Yeah, just putting random records here. Curtis Mayfield's Sweet Exorcist I found a few weeks ago. A lot of these records I just kind of find, oh, hello Paul. I'll try to remember. I'm not very great at that kind of stuff. I'm going to say it now. A lot of people will probably kind of disagree with me, but I'm not the biggest Curtis Mayfield fan. I like his voice and I like some of what he does, but I don't rate everything. I think some of it is a little bit patchy, especially the later stuff. Okay, Paul C on his. Oh, okay, all right. It's a very small world, isn't it? A VC, a very small world. But this is a fantastic record. Slightly longer pieces. You get 6 minutes of kung fu. That's a great track, actually. Made Me Believe in You. So it's got the soul and it's got the melody that you'd expect. But it also has an integrity and power that maybe some of his other albums don't have. I know he's quite an earnest individual, and that comes across a lot of the time in his lyrics. But sometimes it's got lost in the lightness of the music, whereas this actually has something which sustains it throughout, something a little bit different from his other albums. I mean, Superfly and things people that he's famous for, but it was a soundtrack, and you can tell it's a soundtrack. Anyway, yeah, that was a nice little find. I was quite happy with that, I must say. I'm just going all over the place here. I just pulled a bunch of records. Now, so I think maybe in future when I do these, I may kind of focus on a particular genre or something. So those people who may be interested, I might they can stay or go depending. But these are all next to each other on the shelf, and they're going to be random. So please forgive me if you're going to be going, oh my goodness. The adverts. Now we've gone UK punk. Very famous for that track one called Wonders, which is a great title, of course. And it's on here, the first song. Bored Teenagers, New Church on the Roof, New Boys, Bombsite Boy. Great stuff. This is, and it's not in your face punk. This has got melody, it's got inspiration, if you like. It's a little bit more than the usual kind of, it's not just in your face, just, oh, I'm going to just shout at you and tell you, how I think about, what I think about you in 2 minutes and just play really loud, fast guitars. This has got a fantastic sense of melody and power, real power. And the engaging hooks in this, each song has got something wonderfully engaging about it. I mean, they just catch you straight away and you're hooked. It's a great stuff. Great record. I don't know if anyone else has this album, but I mean, it's the first time I'd seen it in the wild, as people say. And I thought, well, I'm going to give it a go, because I always loved their singles. They say Gary Gilmore's Eyes is an absolute classic. Yeah, great stuff. We're going very random. Okay. Bauhaus. A lovely copy of this Double Dare in the Flat Field, of course, is what it's called. Now, for a long time, I didn't really get into this sort of sound. For me, the new wave sound is kind of thin, and everything it's like the drums are kind of like almost like paper thin. They take away the kind of bass sound, and the late 70s new wave had this sort of sense of this production that was never really something that my ear could handle. It was always like sort of repelled me slightly. However, over time, especially maybe as we're getting older, I don't know, I've been able to kind of open my ears up a little bit more and enjoy this stuff. I do think I have to be in the mood for it, but it does have a real, it's a uniqueness. This band, I think, perhaps inspired many other bands of that time and that period. I mean, obviously there are big names, Joy Division and people like that around the same time. Great band. Not every album is stellar, but this is a very good album. It's got angular and kind of, how do you say it? I don't want to keep saying it's got its own kind of atmosphere, but it has. That album, again, has a it's almost like they create their own sound. Sometimes you hear albums like that, they create their own sound. They have something just peculiar and unique to them, and they stand out in a genre, and which other albums maybe don't sound the same. Other bands don't sound quite like it, and maybe it says something about the sort of stuff they sing about, the attitude of the singer. There's something. They're not all about death and horror or anything like that, but there's a kind of an obscure way of looking at the world, and I think it comes across in the music and the way they put songs together. It always fascinates me how musicians put songs together. I know in the past I kind of had a band. I used to do a lot of improvised music with them, and I would sing melodies to them, and I'd tell who you're playing this, you're playing that, you're playing this, you're playing that, and we just go with it. And it sort of helped coming from a perspective of an atmosphere or some sort of idea. And I think when you're trying to transpose an idea, hello, how fantastic to see. Absolutely fantastic. I think when you're trying to transpose an idea, you feel like you can kind of achieve heights which you can't necessarily do if you're just playing the guitar. I know I'm going to play these 3 chords together. A lot of music is just playing chords together. Whereas if you're actually trying, I didn't know that, that's sad. Yeah, that is sad. When you're just playing those sort of chords together, you're going through run-of-the-mill sort of sound. A lot of music to me is on a level. Those people who are trying to kind of create something or express something a bit deeper, or maybe an idea or a sort of concept or something like that, it takes music somewhere else, because people are trying to push themselves to express an idea or a concept or a feeling or whatever through the sound of the instruments and through the music. That's kind of how I see it anyway. Whether that's true, I don't know. But for me, that's the way it seems. A lot of music, even free jazz and stuff, it's supposed to be the extreme end and people really expressing themselves, but there is a level even amongst that where some of it can sound very samey. Those people who create the great albums were always trying to express or go further, hence Coltrane, etc. It's trying to go a little bit further. Now this album, of course, everyone has. I think Vinyl Richie showed it the other day. And I really loved your video, by the way, Vinyl Richie has. In fact, I always love your videos. They're always fantastic, really funny. And you show some powerful stuff. I actually have a couple of things I want to send you at some point. And we'll talk about that another time. Yeah, this is Pink Flag. And what's interesting about this record, I mean, everyone knows about it, is the fact, of course, their previous band member, he'd written a lot of the songs with them, and they decided when he left, they took all his bits out. And when they took his bits out, it kind of gave the songs this sort of quality, which instead of following maybe more ordinary and kind of regular kind of patterns and format, they actually ended up sounding quite unique, stripped back, like pieces missing. You're expecting something to happen and it doesn't, but it goes somewhere else. That's because they'd cut all the songs up and put them kind of back together. And also they do confess, I believe, that they couldn't play their instruments at the time either. And for me, that actually, it sounds ridiculous, but some of the best music I've heard has been from people who are just starting out, who are just beginning, because they don't have the same kind of knowledge. They don't have the same sort of, I know, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I need to follow this pattern, and this chord has to follow next. They just play what they feel. And I think sometimes the feel of the music comes out better with people who don't really know how to play so well. I think when people become too technical, sometimes things are lost, unless, of course, they're perhaps trying to express ideas and things like I said before. But yeah, this album, of course, I think probably most people have, or at least have heard, and it's an essential record, I think, in a collection. Now, people kind of faff about nowadays naming things, post-punk, punk. I mean, it's just punk, isn't it? It's just what it is. That's where they were at the time. That's what was going on in the world. And again, they were just angry young men expressing themselves. But they expressed themselves very well on this album. And also, I think for me, their second album is the best one. I think by the time I got to 154, they were just repeating ideas, and it didn't none of those sort of songs on that album particularly are memorable, and they sort of sound like they're cover versions of the stuff they did on this album or on their second album. But definitely worth hearing. Of course, you probably all know it. But like I say, I just pulled these randomly off the shelf. I'm repeating that for those people who are just new here, who just popped in. You know, I was just going to go on here a couple of minutes to see if this picture and sound quality is all right at this angle. Because the other day it was a bit fuzzy and stuff. And I lost a subscriber immediately after that video. I've probably been watching it for, oh, this guy, too much, man, too much. Anyway, let's, I only got a couple more here. I'll pull some more. I said it's all quite random today. Sabotage. Now, you know, you can tell I like all sorts of music. I go across the board. When I was a teenager, I was very much into Iron Maiden, AC/DC, that kind of stuff. And Black Sabbath appeared as well. When I was about 11, actually, was when I first heard them. And I loved what I heard. I thought, wow, this is fantastic. And when I got older, I liked Paranoid, the album, and the first album, and Master of Reality. But then I got into this. And I think this album is, and Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, are probably their best albums. Because of, again, they're experimenting. They're going out on a limb. They're playing other stuff. There's pianos and all sorts of stuff going on. Sound effects. Just incredible ideas here. Completely unlike the kind of bludgeoning riffage of the first three albums, if you like. They were kind of starting to change with Volume 4. But this album, again, it just has tracks which have that extra something. Megalomania and The Writ are astonishing songs. They're long pieces, 8 or 9 minutes each. And the way they play those and the sounds on those are just absolutely incredible. They're not like, I mean, I suppose they're more sophisticated in a way, but they're not heavy. They're not really heavy songs. They're not heavy metal. They're just, they're almost otherworldly. Again, it's that bigger theme, there's bigger ideas which people are trying to capture and trying to express. And over a longer period, of course, in terms of length of song, there's a lot more you can do. Now, not everybody can do it well, but these guys, they nailed it on this album. They absolutely nailed it from start to finish. Now, people might argue that tracks like Superstar, which is a kind of like a slightly Russian choral piece, might not be great, and Am I Going Insane might not be a fantastic piece. But in the whole context of the album, actually, it works really well. They always had something catchy. The Am I Going Insane is a nice catchy piece. It's a bit sort of slightly more poppy almost. But a great record. Great album. It's a shame that they kind of fell to pieces, really, a little bit after this. I mean, they went a bit downhill. There's still some good tracks on those albums, but this, for me, is the pinnacle. I don't think anyone else would agree with me at all, at all, in any way, shape or form, but it is. It's, for me, the pinnacle. It's where they got it all together. I mean, you've got Symptom of the Universe, Hole in the Sky, Thrill of It All. Great album. If anyone's got any questions they want to ask me about anything, please feel free to do so. You probably, I don't know, you may have something you want to ask. All right, these albums aren't particularly unusual that I'm showing today. These are just ones I've pulled, but here we go. These are all next to each other on the shelf. So that question in the vinyl tag, which I was humming and hawing doing about records which, you know, unusual shelf buddies. And these would have been kind of fairly unusual because most people have alphabetical filed records, I should say. Everyone knows, or at least those who don't know, probably will want to know this record. It's quite a, what's this? Did you find them for 50 pence? I'm going to be honest, a lot of these records were found very cheaply, yes. This one was a fairly recent reissue, so I paid kind of the going rate, less than the going rate, of course, but not the going rate. Now, there is a fantastic, I don't know if anyone's seen it, but it's really worth seeking out, video of Vashti Bunyan and her partner at the time traveling in their gypsy caravan doing the recording and the processing of this album, and she was writing the songs, and you can actually see her writing, playing the songs in the caravan. It's a wonderful piece. I think it's about 45 minutes long, and you just follow them on that trek up to the north. What the film doesn't show you, and what is kind of always withheld in reviews and in the mystery of this record. I mean, even in the cover, here she is on the Shetland Islands, which is where they were heading to go and live, just in one of these cottages and live off the land with her animals. That's what the songs are about, and that's what her journey was supposed to be about. But what they don't tell you is she actually got pregnant on the way, and they went back to London. So they never actually made it. But that sort of takes away the mystery and the kind of the ideal of the hippie ideal, which is going out and leaving it all behind. But they went back to London and had to start earning a living. Although there's another film later where you see them on a farm, and I think they may have left London again and gone to a farm, etc., and had a couple of kids. But anyway, she was very influenced by Donovan, and you can hear it very, very clearly. And especially with his sort of nursery rhyme kind of songs, when he did a couple of albums which were like that. This was 1970. And all of the songs do have that kind of, it's a fragility, but they have a beauty. They have a beauty like so many other albums. I mean, I just cannot reach. There's a naivety, there's a charm. When I first heard it, I did think, oh, this is really a little bit too twee for me. This is almost a bit wet, I was like, oh dear. I wasn't necessarily in the mood. I did hear it a number of years ago before they reissued it. And I remember distinctly seeing this in the original in a charity shop about 15 years ago. And I pulled the record out and looked at it, and it's on the Philips label. And I put it back because I didn't know what it was. And it was when I see the Philips label, I think, oh, I don't care. I don't care for Philips records. And I put it back. I know. And that's £1,000. This is original. And I left it behind. It's one of those regrets. But yeah, it's a great, great record. I think it grows on you. There are a lot of female singers, like Joni Mitchell, etc. They're influenced by Joni Mitchell, and everyone wants to be like her and sound like her. She doesn't. She is very much herself, and she did 2 albums fairly recently. The first one about 40 years since this. Look Aftering, all one word, and also Heart Leap. Heart Leap is not as good. She's not going to record anymore, she said. It's not as good because she produced it herself. And it does sound like that. It sounds like she's got a recording studio in her front room, kind of. And it's a little bit flat because of it. Look Aftering, though, is a sublime album from start to finish. Absolutely sublime. And I highly recommend seeking that out. It's kind of the successor of this, if you like, even though it's 40 odd years between. It makes natural sense to listen to this and then follow it up with that one. And she's still talking about singing in the same sort of way. Her voice hasn't changed at all. And that sweet sort of mellifluous sound quality she has. Absolutely beautiful. But when you first hear it, you might go, oh, that's a little bit cheesy. That's a little bit. But it's not. This is a wonderful, wonderful album. Look After Me is far more mature in its sound. However, it still sounds wonderful. It's not twee in any way. It has a beauty to it, just like she does. And in fact, just as a person, she seems like a very beautiful person, her character and her soul, if you like. Right, I'm going to just pull a couple out. I've got another random cupboard just here. I could just pull them out. I could pull them in. It's like live whack-a-mole. Which I was going to do that video, but I thought I can't really do it because my records are literally all over the room. If I can't stand in front of a wall of records, they're kind of all over upstairs, they're everywhere. There's hundreds and hundreds everywhere. There's a big pile of stuff here. That's a settee, believe it or not, and it's covered in stuff. Anyway, yeah, I'll just pull out a couple of records here. Let's pull them off the shelf. Let's see what we get. This is Whack-A-Mole. And a bit of Fleetwood Mac. greatest hits, of course. This is the first original press-up. And the Green Manalishi, what a track that is. What a track. Again, did anyone else sound like this? You know, they have their blues and they follow that kind of blues sound at times. But did anyone else sound like this band? Not really. That peculiar quality is a sort of empty hollowness in the production. And every instrument you can hear distinctly and clearly. And there's a real power to it. And again, it's the sound, it's all stripped back sound. And tracks like Oh Well, I mean, Oh Well Part 1, the stripped back nature of that. And Dragonfly, I used to hear that on the radio all the time. I haven't heard on the radio for many years. And Albatross as well, I should say. I was thinking of Albatross mainly as on the radio. But when you hear that on the record, it's just like you can see why it's so popular and so good. It's just a wonderful piece of music. And the production, there's something about the production on these early albums which sort of exalts these records above a lot of others, and that's probably why they're still so popular now. People are always going back to them. Whereas other artists of the time, you know, white blues guys, if you like, just don't have the same sort of feel or flow to me. Or they don't really have the same engaging quality that some of these songs have. Now, I haven't played these for many years until fairly recently. I pulled it off the shelf. I'm just blown away by how good that is. Great selection. Maybe even if you had one Fleetwood Mac album from that period, this is all you need, really. Some great stuff on there. Anyway, this is totally random. Look at this. Terry Riley's A Rainbow in Curved Air. We are going curveball here. I mean, we're just going random. I actually have a couple of these. This one is a little bit worn on the cover here. I believe this, for me, is better than In C. Now, when I heard In C, it kind of hooked me straight away. And it got me into all of those sorts of... you've been playing... Yeah, you see. A man of taste and distinction. That's what you are, Richie. People might say, oh, he's just an old punk. He's not. There's much more to Richie than an old punk. Hence his love of the Beatles. He's a wide-ranging knowledger, Richie, wide-ranging. Yeah, definitely, for me, better than In C. It's like a step forward. Now, not everyone would agree with that. I mean, I personally really like Poppy No Good and the Phantom Band on the B-side of this. There are two pieces on this. Yeah. I thought you might have this coming. Inevitable, obviously. You probably have many copies of it. Yeah, lovely piece of music. I mean, again, a lot of these artists I'm showing, I'm becoming aware as I'm showing them just how unique these people are. I mean, this guy created this sound, really. I mean, he completely created it on his own. You know, no one else at the time or before was really doing anything like it. He was obviously aware of people like Stockhausen and that, but those guys, almost sometimes the tape manipulation, those sorts of pieces they were doing were a little bit jagged, uneven, but this guy kind of consolidated it and brought it all together to this wonderful flowing sounds. Obviously Steve Reich and Philip Glass also, but all individually. They weren't all hanging around together, I don't believe, or just kind of getting together and writing. Amazing to come up with this sort of stuff, to do it and create something completely new and completely fresh. And as a result, what happens? He becomes very well known for this kind of thing. He becomes incredibly influential because of the originality. And he completely transcended all sorts of different genres. Became popular across all sorts of different genres. All sorts of people, from metal, you know, all the way through to folk music, will talk about influence of Terry Riley in their work at times. Love for music, hate for cover art. Yeah, I mean, I've never actually thought about it, actually. I've never considered it with cover art. I mean, that, as a cover art itself, maybe that square, as a full front cover would have been a much more interesting cover, but I've Never considered it. But now I've got him next to me. I mean, hey, it's to scale. We could be friends. A beardless Bill Bailey. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And Bill Bailey, of course, very talented musician, incredibly talented. Yes, but there you go. Now, not everyone will have known it or have played it. They've probably seen it in the record racks. It's worth a go. It's definitely worth a go. I think it will change your life when you hear this. Or if you hear In C, it's just, it'll change your life. Whether it'll change for the better or not is a matter of opinion, but it'll take you down avenues and routes which maybe you've never considered going down before. Excellent, excellent album. Really, really good. Produced by David Berman, who did On Another Ocean. Another wonderful piece of music. Or The Other Ocean. Yeah, these were just, as I say, keep repeating, random pulls. They're all next to each other. The songs of Leonard Cohen. Now, I said this the other day. I struggle with the whole albums of Leonard Cohen. I mean, amazingly, for my shelving, the greatest hits was next to it. The greatest hits, apart from, what is it? The Partisan, which I think just totally doesn't work, is really the seminal album, the only one you actually need. Now, I'm a big Leonard Cohen fan. I have all of his albums. Apart from the last couple, actually. I didn't like his voice. It got too deep for me. Hello there, Christopher. How are you? But all of his albums are slightly patchy. They have songs which sound like cover versions of other songs. I said that the other day. So you feel like, he sort of hit a wonderful, wonderful sound with songs like Suzanne, So Long Marianne, Hey, That's No Way to Say Goodbye. I mean, wonderful, wonderful, again, unique sounding songs. However, the uniqueness kind of was almost like a trap to him. He sounded like everything he did had to sound the same way. He played the same sort of rhythm, the same sort of melodies, the same sort of patterns, until later, where he kind of became he branched out a little bit further. But for me, it holds some of his albums back. Now, that may be contentious, and people say, what? His albums are beautiful from start to finish. That's just a personal opinion. I don't think they are. I think that he didn't do a perfect album. Recent Songs, I think, is a wonderful record, overlooked. And also Death of a Ladies' Man is actually severely overlooked because of the production on it and the stories about it. But as a consistent album from start to finish, no, there isn't one. Okay. I didn't really want to show this because it's like, I just pulled it off at random, but hey, everyone keeps showing it, I'll do it just because it came off in the same pile. Gene Clark's No Other. I've mentioned it a couple of videos ago, so I'm not going to be big talking about this. We all know it. I did describe it as having a kind of soaring mysticism, and I think that really sums it up. He hit something here again, which just takes it off to another level, to another planet, really. Again, he was trying to express something deeper and more profound, and I think it really does show. And the way he expressed it in the fluidity of the melodies and the way he kind of soared on upwards, just couldn't go wrong, really. Completely wonderful album. Anyway, let's just see if I can pull another couple off, because they're just behind me here, just somehow anyway. Okay, let's go with this. I don't really like showing albums I've shown before, but I haven't shown this before. Arthur Brown's Kingdom Come, The Lost Ears. I had this since about 1989. It's a double album of most of his. In fact, Galactic Zoo Dossier is on here in full almost. I think it's one track missing. Great, great stuff. I actually saw Arthur Brown live, more than once actually. The week before I got married in 1995, I went to see him live, and I actually half time there was an interval, and he came back from backstage, and he came in just around the side of the stage, and I chatted with him, and I introduced myself, There's the king of pointlessness, because I like doing things at the time that are utterly pointless. And yeah, I've got a strange history. Anyway, he went back on stage, and as soon as he got on stage, he called out for the king of pointlessness, and he called me up, and I went and stood on stage, and I danced to Dem Bones, because he always did a little version of Dem Bones, which he incorporated in Space Plux, another one of his famous songs. And I do have a couple of photos out in the drawer over there of me dancing on stage with Arthur Brown. The week before I got married, I had long hair and I looked a little bit different, but I'm looking happy. And why? Because I'm dancing with a guy who I really like. He's just a fantastic guy. His voice was absolutely incredible. He's a very wide, high octave range, and this is kind of heavy progressive music. I mean, it's hard to see that. I really recommend checking him out, especially his album Joy. If you're into electronic music, if you're into drum machines and stuff like that, very early drum, he was the very first person to use a drum machine. And when you hear it on that album, there's some great kind of spacey electronic stuff on that album. Very, very good. He was always sort of an innovator, really. At the time of Internal Space Messenger and what have we got here? Troubled Brains, Night of the Pigs, those tracks, more progressive and heavy. He actually appears on the Glastonbury Fair video on the film as a fantastic piece, about a 10-minute long track where there's 3 or 4 of his medleyed together. And this cross thing he used to do, and he used to set fire to other crosses and stuff like that. He wasn't Antichrist or anything like that. He was just trying to express something about how he felt about the world and how he saw the universe, etc., etc. He's still going strong. He compares different gigs and things like that as well now. I think he still plays occasionally. Incredibly intelligent and interesting individual. He gets overlooked. Everyone just knows him for Fire. That's nothing compared. And his first album, everyone knows that, which is a patchy affair. Very patchy. This, his second album, Galactitude Dossier and Joy, everyone wants to go for. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, he is about 6'5", yes. And he does have an incredible presence about him. All right. Now, I've shown it before, so I'm not going to go rattling on about this. Gravy Train, Ballad of a Peaceful Man, Vertigo Swell. This is when I first saw this album in the little pictures that you'd get, in the inner sleeves showing you what's available. I thought these were sausages. I didn't realize it was someone's hand. Yeah, I mean, how dumb can you get? There you go. Very rare record. This one is actually, and I've said it before, I showed it in my second ever video, I think, in the competition entry, is signed by the founder member. This is his original copy. A few years ago on eBay, he was selling the other Gravy Train album. And I didn't really have a lot of money at the time. It was going for 90, it went for 90 quid. He did actually write in the blurb, if anyone wants me to sign it, I will. And I just thought, well, I'll contact the guy and see if he's got this album. And he said he did have. No. I said to him, well, if you're interested in getting rid of it, and he said, yeah. He said it's not in great condition, and he's right. There's some scratches on here, really long scratches, and it's quite crackly. But it's a unique piece. I mean, it's very hard to find. It's worth a few £100. But to have him sign it is fantastic. Absolutely wonderful. I got it from him for £50. I remember thinking in the night, I was really worrying about it, thinking, I don't know if he's going to let me have it or anything. And it came to me in the night, I don't know, £50 and it's yours. Anyway, I went back to sleep, and the next morning there was a text, an email, and it said £50 and it's yours. So it was meant to be. But it's a great, great record. Again, progressive, but not heavy progressive. There are 2 or 3 slightly heavier tracks, but there's flute on here. In fact, and saxophone, that's who J.D. Hughes, he plays for flute and saxophone. Side 1 is 4 tracks all in one. as was the want in the progressive days, of course. Great album. This is one of a few on Vertigo that I've heard that's actually 5 stars. There aren't many on Vertigo Swirl that are 5-star albums, really. People love it because of a label and because of what it stood for and because of the sound of some of the tracks. And not every album is a 5-star album. This one is. If anyone else has anything else to say, I'm just going to keep pulling records. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not really near my avant-garde shelf. And mainly a lot of my kind of slightly obscure albums are over there. So unfortunately for Calm and Alex, you might be finding this a little bit. Anyway, people show this album a lot. Now this is an original copy, UK. People do show this album a lot. And I don't know what all the fuss is about. People are saying all the time just how wonderful it is, and I've never ever clicked with this record. It just does nothing for me. Now, you know, I'll probably lose about 10, 20 subscribers, maybe more, who knows. I lost one last time just for appearing live. I'm probably losing people right now. But yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know what. Can someone please tell me what is so good about this record? I just don't see it. I don't feel it. It doesn't click with me at all. You know, I'm just being out there. I'm just going to say it as I see it. It's not the truth necessarily. It's just the truth for me, and it doesn't work. It seems it's lacking something. But then you see, the problem is, for many years, I've always looked for more. I've had this thing where I've looked for more. And I don't know what Christopher is saying there. It's all in Swedish, is it? Anders? I don't know if it's all in Swedish. I have no idea. Yeah, it looks like Swedish to me, but I don't understand what it means. I've looked for more, and I've kind of, I look for that sound as something which has to capture me. And it can be in punk music, it can be in avant-garde music, it can be in classical music. But this it doesn't have it. It just doesn't have it. Gene Clark's No Other, on the other hand, has it. Has something which gives me that extra something that I was seeking for. And this is why I had that improvised music band. Because I loved it when those times came together. See, I don't understand what that means. It's not in English, so I might have to translate that later. Yeah, because I loved it when the sounds come together, where everyone, all of a sudden, you have those moments where it exalts and lifts to another level, where you all suddenly connect, and you connect together, and it can last 10 seconds, or it can last 10 minutes. And it's a wonderful thing. And I always loved Amon Düül and bands like that at the time, because they obviously had an improvisation kind of ethic, and they worked from that. And you could see it and you could feel it, and it came across in their music. Yeah, and so for me, this doesn't have it. It doesn't have that extra something. Now, I'm not always seeking out these incredible, amazing, obscure records. I know, I mean, I look at Calm's collection, I look at Alex's collection, and I kind of drool because you just don't see those records very often. And they are amazing, some of those records, absolutely amazing. And I look at them and think, wow, you know, it's not something I come across at all. I'll go over that in a minute. I'm going to show this as well. This is a nice find. I don't like the album. It's a little bit too ordinary for me. I was expecting more from the cover, of course. I thought there may have been some psychedelic edge to it. But that was just the thing at the time to make things sell. a lot of people really rate the man as a singer, and of course he was an exceptional singer. But not really for me. A little bit too ordinary. That's an opinion. I'd love to know if someone really loves this record, because I like to learn. I like to hear what other people have to say, because it kind of opens up new ways of looking at things for me, which I like to learn. I like to know that stuff. So that would be great. I will venture over and see what I mean. I know I'm just going to pull something, and if there's something amongst it, we'll see. Let's just go over here. For example, okay, I'll just show a couple of these. Here, John Melby, Concerto for Violin, English Horn and Computer Synthesized Tape. And James Tenney on the side 2, Saxony. Now this again is one of those where actually the tape is not as offensive or hard to listen to as some avant-garde. This actually is a very good piece, but for me, this is the standout. James Tenney's Saxony. Another kind of fluid, kind of like a wave of sound throughout the side. It is never, ever less than interesting. It's always engaging. It kind of has something, what's the word? It's almost like Terry Riley in some ways. It's that kind of, it's not like a bubbling sound, but there's something, it's almost like you're on that level with them. You're riding the wave with them. And it's not like it becomes boring or it becomes aggressive or abrasive on the ears, It's just a fantastic piece, but it is avant-garde. It's not regular, let's just put this on and sit back and kick back. E equals MC squared or something like that. It's or like the Inventions for Electric Guitar. It's slightly more kind of, you can sit back and relax. This is absorbing. That's the word I'm looking for. Absorbing. All right. Now you see, I'm saying this is an avant-garde show. It's like full of all sorts of other stuff. Anyway, I'll show one more. Luke Ferrari. Und so weiter and Music Promenade. Now this again has magnetic tape and it uses all sorts of strange piano and percussive sort of sounds. Not everything that I hear by this guy works. I think the worst thing for me in avant-garde music is vocal pieces. They can be quite off-putting, where people are going, ooh, 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 ooh. Just, yeah, so what? They're not, something about, if they were doing the same thing in synthesizers, the same thing in any kind of electric instrument or even acoustic sounds, would be far more interesting. There's something about the human voice that almost needs to be words spoken. When you're just making sort of odd noises, high and low and high pitched and low pitched, etc., not quite as interesting, and can be quite off-putting, frankly. Yeah, see, as soon as you use the human voice for choral work, as soon as you use the human voice to speak language, or you don't have to speak language, but you use the human voice for melody, then it becomes something else. But when you take the melody out, you kind of lose something. That's a personal opinion. Anyway, I may stop this shortly because I can't believe it's gone an hour nearly, and the light is going. Let me just try this. If I put this light on here, as a table lamp, that's marginally better for now. I've also got another one over there. I'll try that. I'll just pull a couple more, and if anyone else has anything to say, that'd be great. And I'll carry on for another couple of minutes, another few minutes. If you have any more questions, I'm losing people, so they might be thinking I'm going. That's it. I'm off to work. I'm doing other stuff. Depends on where you are in the world, of course. Look. There's one slightly more. Flow Motion by Can. I really should use some Goo Gone on that. It's been on that for years. Here we go. I Want More, which became a single, of course, a surprisingly successful single. And this record is a binaural record, which means the recorder is set up with different kind of, it's not a stereo, pure stereo record. And it's meant to make you sound more absorbed, more like you're there in a live sense. I think it works to some degree. Yeah, you're right, Alex. You're right. I'm glad it's only, I don't normally get a chance to save this kind of stuff because I don't go live. I just want to try it live. Please let me know, someone, if the sound is bad, because the sound can be wavy on this old computer, and I may have to try and get some sort of microphone or something. If I had 1,000 subscribers, I could go use my mobile phone, which would be much better quality. But I love Can. Which one is your fave? Interesting. I actually probably, it's going to be Tego Mago probably. That was the one I kind of first heard. I mean, I heard, actually, that's not strictly true. I heard Egg Banyasi, and I really liked that. I think their first few Monster Movie, I mean, you can't really go wrong with them. I think, you want a Can box set, really. That's what you want. You want a Can box set, so you've got everything, and you can kind of pick and choose. I think some of the later pieces, the EFS stuff, you want to get rid of that. Okay, yeah, Blanc. He's a great vocal avant-garde singer. Okay. Yeah, and Future Days, another wonderful, wonderful one. Soundtracks, you see, as soon as you start, I say you need a box set. Soundtracks is a fantastic album. Yeah, you're right. You see, you need the whole lot. There's no point kind of, faffing about with this. Yeah, you can't really pick and choose. I said it because I suppose it just held, when I said Take Omega, it holds a slightly more nostalgic kind of, and has more meaning to me for those reasons. So I just said that. But actually, when I think about it, I think there's better tracks on other albums. And I can't remember the last time I listened to I think probably about 20 years ago. I heard it through maybe once or twice all the way through. I'm like, oh, let's be honest with each other, people. It's not very good. Soul Desert for me is probably my favorite Can track. Yeah, and Mother Sky. This is a great album. Not one of their best, but I would say definitely a very good album. It's a different feel, of course, a later period. But excellent all the same. Just not as excellent as their early ones. Okay, let's just pull. Maybe I should just pull one more round because I want to keep. Oh, this last one maybe. La Dusseldorf. This is our third album. Not something I've seen shown in the VC. I think maybe once, or maybe Alex showed it. I can't remember. Or maybe Calm showed it. Taldeck. When people said in the vinyl tag question, who's your favourite drummer? I was going to go with Klaus Dinger because his drumming, and like an Ashrar Temple on that first album, and also he played in Kraftwerk for a bit. He's on some of those songs. Wonderful. This is a good album. Is it as good as the first two? It's very similar to the first two. They all have the same sort of feel and flow. Great record. Not as great as for me. Perhaps the second one is the best. Love Viva. It's their best one. I always love the track Gelt. I love the kind of the abandon for kind of, again, it's that sort of, we're saying it all as we feel it. This is it. This is it. This is the world. This is everything. And they're saying it in that song. This is gold. And I love that. Just takes you somewhere else. Yes, that's right. I mean, I always overlooked, always. Everyone talks about Michael Rota. I believe it's how you say it. everyone talks about him, but the Dingo guys, they get overlooked, and unfairly, really. They were wonderful musicians, and again, they had that unique talent that took them somewhere else. You know, they expressed things in a very different way. Who would, I mean, Noi were an incredible band. Who thought of that? You know, who came up with that? Unbelievable, unbelievable. What I love about it is the drumming, the speed of the drumming, the lilt of those drum patterns in that on those Noi albums. No one else played like that, and no one else has done since, really. That kind of lazy. As you're a drummer, you want to 1, 2, 3, 4. You might slow it down to 1, 2, but to play that kind of almost like you're playing in slow motion and holding the listener. I mean, and it suspends you, and you just go with this wonderful flow. I mean, no one else has done anything like that. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, that's exactly it. But it's just that slowed down thing. I mean, it's just that those slower pieces are just completely unlike anything else. Unless, of course, of stuff I haven't heard. I mean, I don't know everything by a long shot. But from what I've heard, that wonderful pace, that slow pace, absolutely beautiful. Yeah, good album. But maybe, like I say, it's not as memorable as the others. Perhaps because I've heard the others more. But good album all the same. Okay. Now then, I don't really want to stop doing this. I know you can go for 12 hours. I know like people like Dead Wax 66 just go on for like 5 hours. But, you know, I don't want to go for too long, because how many more subscribers will I lose after this? It'll be interesting to see. Anyway, the light is fading here. Right near a window. I can see on the quality of the picture is not great. So I will probably end it. I will probably say thank you very much. I may do more of these live things because it's more me to just go spontaneous. I've been thinking for a long time, just give up YouTube, give it up. You know, I like the instant thing of Instagram. I keep thinking about just knocking on the head altogether and just leaving the VC. But something keeps drawing me back. I love the guys who I've met and who I learn from and watch. But I never feel I've really got that much to say, or that much I can really kind of commit to that other people may be interested in. But we'll see. So far it's been all right, but maybe these live videos are the way to go for me. Yeah. Oh yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I'm going to let it go, although we just have someone else just joining. I'm going to say it's one of those. Sorry, mate, but you're too late. So thanks everyone for stopping by. I'll leave this up for a little while, and I'll see how I go with whether I delete these or not. Depends what kind of response I get. My last video, no one actually watched more than, say, 10 minutes for the live one, because I probably saw the length and thought, I haven't got time for that, and I understand that. I never went over 15 minutes before, really. So we'll see. But the live thing just has a nice kind of feel and flow to it. All right, well, I'll see you all later, and thanks for commenting and questions and everything else, and for positivity. I'll see you all soon. Cheers.